Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I keep you up to date with all of the latest gaming news, and today we have another update on the 3D Mario Remastered collection, as well as the new Paper Mario game set for 2020. We talked about this yesterday, of course, and that Nintendo does plan on releasing both a new Paper Mario game, as well as remastering Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, Mario 64, and even more than that, which should be available sometime this year of 2020 on the Switch, barring any kind of delays. We, however, do have a new update regarding this collection, so we'll go over that here in just a moment. There is plenty more to talk about though, including a new exclusive Xbox Series X game was announced yesterday, Capcom is reportedly working on a big remake, and PlayStation 4 got a surprise timed exclusive today, so stay tuned for all of that. First though, let's go over some quick updates on some games across the industry, starting off with a brand new Xbox Series X exclusive, which was announced just last night. Don't get too excited though, because this is just a small independent game and its reach is likely to be very limited, but I do think that some of the old Sega fans may be able to appreciate this one, and I'll explain why. So yes, Dynamic Voltage announced Orphan of the Machine, which is running at 60 frames per second and 4K resolution, though yes, it is a smaller game. As you can see, you play as a dolphin, and it may possibly be a Metroidvania style game, though that's kind of hard to tell based off the little gameplay that we got. What it does remind me of though is the high-profile exclusive for the Sega Genesis way back when I was a kid, Echo the Dolphin. And if you don't know what Echo the Dolphin is or the history behind that game, it was developed by Sega themselves, and it was supposed to be an entirely new way to play games, and let me tell you, that game was a very difficult game when I was a kid. Really though, I mean, it was pretty solid as well. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it was amazing, but I think it was good. So even if Orphan of the Machine isn't necessarily for you, I don't think, like I said, I don't think this game is going to have a large reach, but I do think some of the old Sega fans may appreciate this one. Moving on though, Final Fantasy VII Remake is set to release on April 10th, or for most people at the very least, because Square Enix posted a small update that some fans may end up getting a copy of Final Fantasy VII earlier than what was expected. Due to everything that's happening in the world right now, Square Enix has decided to ship the game early in some regions to ensure they get a copy by the time of the official release date. They specifically name both Europe and Australia, so if you live in either of those countries and you already pre-ordered Final Fantasy VII Remake, then you very possibly may end up getting the game over the next few days, so that's pretty good news. For me, I pretty much do everything digitally by this point, but I will say this: if you get the chance to preload Final Fantasy VII, then you may want to do that because download speeds are incredibly slow right now on PlayStation. I mean, they've always been slow for me personally, but now it's even worse than usual, so do make sure to go preload Final Fantasy VII ahead of time if you want to play it as early as you can on April 10th. We also got a few updates on release dates, and we'll go over that real quick and then move on to some of the bigger stuff, but yes, Xbox has announced 2 different delays to their first-party catalog. Wasteland 3 has been moved back to August 28th, and Minecraft Dungeons is now set for May 26th, and this should be pretty much expected by this point. I do think we're going to be seeing a lot more delays this year because it does seem most companies are working from home by this point, and I don't think we should be too upset over this. Now's the time for us gamers to show our maturity and understand the gravity of this situation here. I do hope PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X aren't delayed as well, but we'll see what happens, and either way, like I said, let's try not to be too upset over this type of stuff. There is a lot bigger things happening right now. For the good news here though, The Outer Worlds has received an official release date for the Nintendo Switch, which will be June 5th. Now, that right there is very exciting because The Outer Worlds is actually one of the best RPGs of this entire generation. Granted, we don't know how well it runs on the Switch just yet, but if it does have good performance on the Switch, then you Switch fans are in for a real treat. This is honestly a really good RPG. And hey, it's not too much longer before we get to try it out for ourselves, so definitely something to be excited for. And speaking of the Switch, let's start talking about that new Paper Mario game, which has gotten some more reports today, and VentureBeat is flat out saying this is a return to the series' roots. You should expect to see plenty of RPG action, and it will be more similar to the old Nintendo 64 Paper Mario game than something like the newer 3DS and Wii Paper Mario games, which is a huge sigh of relief. The newer Paper Mario games, of course, have been widely criticized, so this is really good news. I know I've reported on this multiple times by this point though, and we had heard about it being a traditional style Paper Mario game, but now that we're seeing reputable websites report on it as well, this just adds more fuel to the fire. This really sounds like it's actually happening, and I do find it interesting that once the Video Game Chronicles reported on it yesterday, then like every other news outlet started talking about it as well. It's almost as if everybody was waiting for somebody to spill the beans, and well, I couldn't be any happier about this. I love the original Paper Mario game for the Nintendo 64 and beat it multiple times, and I've always wanted them to go back and do another one like this. It's unfortunate that Nintendo started to do all these spin-offs of the franchise, whether that be Super Paper Mario, I really hated that one. There was Sticker Star, or even the painting one, I can't think of the name of it right now. And I know some people like those games as well, but the original Paper Mario is easily the best in my opinion. Again, the newer ones are actually widely criticized, so I don't think this is just me, but I do think that the old ones, like the original Paper Mario, and then A Thousand Years Door, of course, is the absolute best. I mean, like I said before, the newer ones have been widely criticized, so I don't think it's just me. I mean, I do think the old ones are better, and they just had this charm to them, and the combat was actually a lot of fun, so I'm really excited to see Nintendo officially announce this, which, based off what VGC said, they should be revealing this at their E3 Nintendo Direct replacement, which will likely be in June. I have to say though, Nintendo has to be upset that this leaked, because that would have been a nice surprise for fans, but in my opinion, I think they should have announced this at last week's Nintendo Direct, which, even though I think it did well in what Nintendo was trying to do, by basically showing what was coming up in the next 3 or so months, I do believe they should have dropped a major game there to show why owning a Switch in the year of 2020 is worth it. That's just my opinion though. Oh, and that's right, we did get another update on the 3D Mario collection, and when I talked about this on last night's news dose, I was under the impression that it was going to include all of the 3D Mario games in one collection. But the Video Game Chronicles is now saying that this is possibly 2 different collections. Apparently somebody with knowledge of the situation says that Nintendo is treating this as an anniversary collection, and it's more of the old school 3D Mario games, which includes Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. It doesn't actually say if it's both of the Galaxy games, but I'm going to assume it does. However, Nintendo does plan on re-releasing other Mario games in 2020, including a deluxe edition of Mario 3D World. So based off the wording here, I do think the Mario 3D World Deluxe Edition is a standalone title rather than it being included in the old school anniversary collection. Of course, there is nothing official about this, though I do trust the Video Game Chronicles. I've been following them for a while now, and they really are a great website, and they do seem like they have a lot of trusted sources. For Mario fans though, 2020 sounds like an absolute amazing year. A brand new classic Paper Mario game in all or most of the 3D Marios will be heading to the Switch this year, which are some of the greatest games to ever be made. So this is really huge, and let me know what you're most excited to play. For me, I want that new classic Paper Mario game, and for the record, if you do remember correctly, when I first reported on a classic Paper Mario game a few months back, I believe that same insider that talked about this also stated that there was a new 2D Metroid game in development as well. I think it was a Metroid Fusion game, so maybe that's true as well. I don't know, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but let's hope so. Anyways though, we do need to move on because we do have plenty more to talk about, including the free Xbox games with Gold April games. For me, most of the time, they don't really offer that great of a catalog, but honestly, this month is pretty solid with Fable Anniversary. You have Project Cars, Knights of Pen and Paper Bundle, and Toy Box Turbos. I can't really speak for those last two per se, but Fable Anniversary and Project Cars 2 are actually pretty good games. Of course, Fable is a classic, and hey, if that rumor is true about Playground Games working on a brand new Fable game for the Xbox Series X, this may be a good way for new Fable fans to jump into the series and see where it all began. Also, Project Cars 2 is one of the better racing games on the market, so yeah, I mean, it's not a bad month overall. I still think Xbox needs to improve this service for next generation, but as I said, it's a solid month overall. This next one though is pretty exciting though, because Capcom is reportedly working on a big remake right now with the M2 studio. This is headed by Minami and has several former Platinum Games developers working there, so there is a lot of talent here. Minami, of course, has worked on some pretty major games including Street Fighter Turbo 2, you have Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, and even Mega Man. With that said though, what is the M2 studio working on? Well, we don't actually know, but we can rule out both Dino Crisis, unfortunately, as well as Code Veronica, based off what insider Dusk Golem had to say. Now, he is a reliable insider, so I do put some trust into him, but of course, you should always take this type of stuff with a grain of salt. I'm still hoping for Dino Crisis, even though he's saying it's not on the board. But with that said, I am curious to see what M2 is working on. Capcom does have a big portfolio of old games that could be remade from Onimusha. There is several other Resident Evil games, the Devil May Cry games, as well as Okami, Breath of Fire, and really the list just goes on and on. One that kind of popped out to me though is Darkstalkers. That's a really good fighting game and I think it could be revived, and considering Minami has worked on Street Fighter before, that may not be a bad idea. Of course, I am just speculating though, but I really do think that Darkstalkers could end up being a really good game if they remade that into something for next generation consoles. But I would like to hear from you. What would you like to see M2 remake from the Capcom portfolio? Let me know in the comments below. Now for the last bit of news, and this is a weird one, but yes, the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered campaign was released today for $20 through yet another shadow release. It just kind of popped up out of nowhere with no real marketing behind it, but what makes it even more strange is that this is a PlayStation 4 timed exclusive. It's only 30 days and then will be available on other platforms, which is odd considering how big the Call of Duty franchise is. I'm a little surprised that Activision actually allowed Sony to money hat a timed exclusive here, and Sony seems to be doing a lot of this here recently. They have gotten several timed exclusive deals in recent years, and they even did this with the Call of Duty DLC. I think it was last year, though that was like a year timed exclusive, and this is only 30 days. I'm not really a big fan of timed exclusive deals myself, regardless of who does it. I mean, I understand it's a part of the business, but just not a big fan of it personally. But yeah, if you do want to play it on PlayStation 4 today, you absolutely can go out and play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's remastered campaign right now on the PlayStation 4, so go enjoy it if you can. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.